Imagine receiving a letter in the mail that contains specific details about a murder only the killer could know. Now imagine that letter is written in code, taunting you to solve it before the killer strikes again. This isn't the plot of a thriller movie. This is real life. This is the Zodiac Killer case, a mystery so chilling that even today, more than 50 years later, it continues to haunt investigators and capture the world's attention. The killer was never caught, his identity remains unknown, and in 2025, new evidence has emerged that could finally crack one of America's most infamous unsolved cases. The terror began on a cold December night in 1968. 17-year-old David Faraday and 16-year-old Betty Lou Jensen were on their first date, parked along Lake Herman Road in Vallejo, California. It was supposed to be a romantic evening under the stars. Instead, it became a nightmare. Around 11 o'clock at night, someone approached their vehicle and opened fire without warning. Betty Lou tried to run but was shot 5 times in the back. David was shot in the head and died on the way to the hospital. The killer left no witnesses, no fingerprints, and seemingly no motive. Police had almost nothing to work with. 6 months later, lightning struck twice. On July 4, 1969, the killer targeted another young couple at Blue Rock Springs Park, just minutes away from the first murder scene. 22-year-old Darlene Ferrin and 19-year-old Mike Mageau were sitting in their car when a vehicle pulled up beside them. A man emerged, shined a flashlight in their eyes, and started shooting. Darlene died at the scene. Mike, despite being shot multiple times in the face, neck, and chest, miraculously survived. He would become one of only 2 living witnesses to the Zodiac's attacks. But what happened next is what transformed these tragedies from local crimes into a national obsession. Just 40 minutes after the shooting, the Vallejo Police Department received a phone call. A calm, monotone voice spoke into the receiver. The caller took credit for both attacks, providing details that only the killer could possibly know. Then he said something that would send chills down every investigator's spine. He told them, "This is the Zodiac speaking." In August of 1969, 3 major newspapers in the San Francisco Bay Area received identical letters. Each envelope contained a third of a cryptogram, 348 symbols arranged in mysterious patterns. The accompanying letter was clear in its threat. The killer demanded that these coded messages be published on the front pages, or he would go on a killing spree, targeting random people until he collected a dozen victims. The letters were signed with a symbol that would become infamous worldwide, a circle with a crosshair through it. The signature mark of the Zodiac Killer. The community was gripped with fear. Parents kept their children indoors. Young couples avoided secluded areas. The entire Bay Area was looking over its shoulder, wondering where the killer would strike next. Then, remarkably, a schoolteacher named Donald Hardin and his wife Betty managed to crack the first cipher. The decoded message was as disturbing as anyone could have imagined. The Zodiac wrote that he enjoyed killing people because it was fun, and that he was collecting slaves for his afterlife in paradise. This wasn't just a criminal. This was someone who killed for pleasure and believed he would be rewarded in death. The Zodiac wasn't finished. In September 1969, he attacked again, this time at Lake Berryessa in Napa County. College students Brian Hartnell and Cecilia Shepard were enjoying a peaceful afternoon by the lake when a man wearing a black executioner's hood approached them. He was armed with a gun and a knife. After tying them up, he stabbed them repeatedly. Cecilia died from her wounds, but Brian survived to tell investigators about the terrifying encounter. Before leaving the scene, the killer walked to Brian's car and drew his crosshair symbol on the door. Along with the dates and locations of his previous attacks, he was keeping score. 2 weeks later, the killer struck in the heart of San Francisco. On October 11, 1969, taxi driver Paul Stein picked up a passenger in the downtown area. The man asked to be driven to a residential neighborhood. When they arrived, the passenger shot Paul in the head at point-blank range, took his wallet and keys, and tore off a piece of his shirt. Days later, that same piece of blood-soaked fabric arrived at the San Francisco Chronicle, mailed by the Zodiac as proof that he was responsible for yet another murder. This time, police had witnesses. 2 teenagers saw a man leaving the taxi and watched him wipe down the vehicle. They immediately called the police, providing a detailed description of the suspect: a white male, approximately 5 feet 8 inches tall, with a stocky build, reddish brown hair, and wearing glasses. Police officers Don Fook and Eric Zelms were nearby and spotted a man matching that description walking away from the scene. In a devastating twist of fate, they let him go. Due to a miscommunication in the dispatch, They were looking for a suspect described as African American. The Zodiac walked right past them and disappeared into the night. Over the following months and years, the Zodiac continued to send letters to newspapers and police departments. His correspondence was filled with bizarre threats, claims of additional murders, and more cryptograms. In one particularly disturbing letter, he provided a hand-drawn map with a modified compass symbol placed over Mount Diablo. He claimed the map and an accompanying cipher would reveal the location of a bomb he had buried. That cipher, known as Z32, has never been solved. In another letter, the Zodiac claimed he had killed 37 people, though investigators could only confirm 5 murders and 2 survivors from his known attacks. The last confirmed letter from the Zodiac was received in 1974. In it, he referenced a horror movie called The Exorcist and signed off with his typical taunting tone. Then, just as mysteriously as he had appeared, the Zodiac seemed to vanish. The letters stopped, the murders stopped, but the questions remained. For decades, investigators pursued thousands of leads. More than 2,500 suspects were investigated by the San Francisco Police Department alone. The only person ever publicly named as a suspect by law enforcement was Arthur Leigh Allen, a former elementary school teacher and convicted child molester. Several of Allen's acquaintances claimed he had talked about calling himself the Zodiac and expressed interest in hunting young couples. The timing of his incarceration for other crimes aligned perfectly with the end of the Zodiac's known correspondence. But despite all the circumstantial evidence, police could never definitively link Allen to the murders. He died in 1992, taking whatever secrets he had to the grave. One of the most frustrating aspects of the case has always been the unsolved ciphers. While the first cryptogram, known as Z408, was decoded quickly, another cipher sent in November 1969 remained a mystery for 51 years. The Z340 cipher, containing 340 characters, baffled professional cryptographers and amateur sleuths alike. Then, in December 2020, an international team of code breakers finally cracked it. The message was another taunt directed at law enforcement, with the Zodiac writing, "I hope you are having fun trying to catch me." Even after all those years, his mockery continued to sting. Fast forward to 2025, and the case has taken remarkable new turns. Advances in forensic genetic genealogy, the same technology that caught the Golden State Killer, are now being applied to evidence from the Zodiac letters and crime scenes. Investigators have successfully extracted partial DNA profiles from stamps and envelopes the killer licked decades ago. While no definitive match has been announced yet, law enforcement officials remain cautiously optimistic that modern science could finally unmask the killer who has evaded justice for over half a century. In December 2025, a bombshell announcement captured headlines around the world. A self-taught code breaker named Alex Baber claimed he had finally solved the Z13 cipher, one of the remaining unsolved cryptograms. Using artificial intelligence and cross-referencing historical records, Baber identified a suspect named Marvin Margolis, a former Navy corpsman who lived under the alias Marvin Merrill after 1947. What makes this claim even more stunning is that Baber believes Margolis was responsible not only for the Zodiac murders, but also for the infamous Black Dahlia killing of Elizabeth Short in Los Angeles in 1947. The FBI is currently reviewing this new evidence, and while skepticism remains high due to the countless theories that have emerged over the years, Baber's findings have been vetted by former National Security Agency cryptographers who say his work is sound. The case file remains open in multiple jurisdictions. The San Francisco Police Department, the Vallejo Police Department, and the FBI all continue to investigate any credible leads that emerge. In an era where cold cases are being solved at an unprecedented rate thanks to DNA technology, there is genuine hope that the Zodiac killer's identity could finally be revealed. This case has become more than just an unsolved murder investigation. It has become a cultural phenomenon, spawning dozens of books, documentaries, films, and an entire community of amateur detectives known as zodiologists who dedicate their time to solving the mystery. The Zodiac represents something deeply unsettling about human nature: the idea that someone can commit such heinous acts, taunt society for years, and simply disappear without consequence. But make no mistake, this is not just a historical curiosity. The families of David Faraday, Betty Lou Jensen, Darlene Ferrin, Cecilia Shepard, and Paul Stein still wait for answers. They deserve justice. The investigators who have dedicated their careers to this case deserve to see it solved. And society deserves to know who was behind one of the most audacious crime sprees in American history. The Zodiac Killer case stands as a reminder that some mysteries run deep, that evil can wear many faces, and that the pursuit of justice never truly ends. With new technology, renewed determination, and perhaps a breakthrough just around the corner, 2026 could finally be the year this decades-old nightmare comes to an end. If this story captivated you as much as it has captivated investigators for over 50 years, make sure you hit that subscribe button right now. We dive deep into the world's most mysterious unsolved cases, bringing you the latest updates, shocking revelations, and untold stories that you won't find anywhere else. Tap that like button to help us reach more people who are fascinated by true crime and the relentless pursuit of justice. Turn on notifications so you never miss an episode, because who knows? The next video we post might be the one where we report that the Zodiac Killer has finally been caught. Stay curious, stay safe, and we'll see you in the next investigation.